May 15th, 2025 meeting of the Arlington School Committee. Tonight's meeting is being conducted in person and through the use of Zoom. This meeting is being simultaneously broadcast on ACMi and the meeting is being recorded. Because all members who we expect to be present are here in person, votes will be taken by voice unless a roll call is required. This evening we are missing Ms. Exton and Mr. Cardin, who are both attending events for their children. Persons wishing to access the meeting using Zoom may find information on how to do so on the town's website. The posted agenda and supporting materials for this meeting are also available on the town's website. Due to open meeting law restrictions, the committee cannot participate in or access Zoom's chat function. While everyone is welcome to observe this meeting, active remote participation requires advance notice. All participants are asked to activate their camera and shall provide their full name in the interest of developing a record of the meeting. Our first agenda item tonight is public comment. Individuals or group representatives may address the committee on items of school business. The length of the public comment segment shall normally be no more than 20 minutes. Speakers must identify themselves by name and address and will be allowed up to 3 minutes to present their material. Speakers may offer such objective criticisms of the school operations and programs as concern them, but in public session, the committee will not hear personal complaints about school personnel nor against any member of the school community, except the school committee or the superintendent in their capacity as the operational leader of Arlington Public Schools. Under most circumstances, administrative channels are the proper means for disposition of legitimate complaints involving staff members. The public is reminded that the school committee does not hold jurisdiction over the performance of school personnel other than the superintendent. We have four people signed up for public comment tonight. We have 3 here in person. So it will be Sophie Gross, followed by Jonathan Bloom, followed by Stephanie Ford, and then we have 1 person via Zoom. So when you come up to speak, make sure that you're close enough to the microphone so that that they can pick up what you have to say. And Ms. Gross, you are first. You might want to pull that microphone towards you. Perfect.
Hi, my name is Sophie Gross. I live at 15 Cleveland Street. I'm a student at Thompson Elementary School. And I think that teachers should provide some preparation for kids like me who sit outside during math because we are extremely not challenged in math and are bored. We sit outside just doing math packets, and I think those packets should include some things that provide preparation for the 6th grade math thing. The bypass is only for a small amount of kids, and I think that number is way too small because there's 4 kids in my class alone that sit outside and do math, and we have 7 schools and 4 classes. So that is far too little. Maybe 1 of the kids who sit outside will get into that, and I don't think I will because there's a lack of preparation. And I don't want to be just bored for the next 3 years in middle school before high school. I'm almost in 6th grade, and that will be very boring for me if I just sit there and are not challenged by the curriculum. We need more options in math in middle school, so my friends and I won't be bored in math. Girls like me in STEM need to be challenged in math so as not to resent it. We're very bored and need some help.
Thank you. Jonathan Bloom. Can you state your name and address for the record too, please? Thank you.
Jonathan Bloom, 17 Ariel Street. So yes, I live in Arlington for the last 5 years, and Boston for longer. I have a daughter, Katja, who's starting Pierce in the fall, an older daughter, Aviva, who went to Pierce, now Gibbs, will go to Addison. I'm here because my daughter, Aviva, is a special needs student, and I've been having trouble getting responses to have discussions about those needs. To give you context, I grew up in the Midwest, far from any top universities or academics, but I was the first in my family who left the state for college. I studied, researched, and taught theoretical math at Harvard, Columbia, and MIT. I've led software teams and genetics teams at the Broad Institute. I've had leadership roles in biotech and drug discovery and AI. 2 years ago, though, I returned to my truest love, which is education and teaching. So I'm in the MIT math department. I try to make MIT teach students better. And I'm obsessed with embodied, active, and social learning. I'm quite skeptical of some of the hype around AI and screens. And I have the highest evaluations in the department from students and just received the top award for teaching. So it's really a privilege to be in that position to teach these students. But the key moment in my upbringing that made all that possible was when my mother, when I was about to enter 7th grade, she was a special education student, special education teacher in the public schools. She went to the public school leadership and said that just like her students who had autism or learning disabilities, I also had special needs. And that without challenges commensurate with my ability, I would not have the opportunities of my peers to experience failure, build resilience, spark joy, nurture a growth mindset. She couldn't care less how early I took calculus, but she didn't want me to be bored to tears in my math classes. And she knew that teachers have impossible jobs, that resources are finite, they're often zero-sum. She did not advocate for special teachers or classes. She just wanted me to be allowed to demonstrate mastery and be placed into a course that would challenge me, which is how I became the first student in my district to go to the high school as a middle school student and take math, which then enabled me to do dual enrollment, where for a couple years I was driving an hour each way, but loving it, taking classes in math that really led to my love for the subject and for teaching and opened up some opportunities. I feel like here we're surrounded by these incredible institutes, and not every student should or will go to MIT or Harvard or many of the other great schools around us, but I really find it remarkable how inflexible Arlington's math curriculum is relative to my advisees at MIT, who come from districts all over the world and the country and manage to get where they are because the schools offer them more flexibility and acceleration. Aviva, my daughter, is one of these students with special needs. She loves soccer, running club, chess, Russian. She loves flute, except practicing it. She's also several years ahead of the math curriculum here. She's in Gibbs in Math 7A. It's completely review. She's already mastered the algebra and geometry she'll be expected to learn the next 2 years, and I don't know what to do about it. Acceleration doesn't require vast new resources. It does require testing. We manage it with varsity sports. We manage it with music. I'd like to just have a conversation about what might be possible, and that's why I'm here.
Thank you. Next is Stephanie Ford. If you can give us your name and address for the record, thank you.
Sure. Good evening. Thank you for your time. Stephanie Ford, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 8. I live at 12 Lockland Avenue. I have 2 students in the Arlington Public Schools. I'm a taxpayer, a town meeting member, and with you all, I share responsibility for the school budget and for getting overrides passed. We are all on the same team, seeking transparency, fiscal responsibility, lawful, ethical conduct, unless we actually are not. Tonight I want to talk about the cost of special education settlements and the accountability that's coming in the wake of the Globe expose. Not the numbers on the spreadsheet, not the very real solutions that students need, not even the emotional devastation or educational toll on families, which are enormous and impossible to quantify. I'm talking about what happens in the middle, a slow grinding process that begins when a family raises their hand and ends when accountability vanishes. A path of conflict that's not accidental, but structured, designed, refined to prevail in legal disputes, not to serve students and not to serve the town. Families are left with the consequences, the district is left with deniability, and the town is left with the bill. These process costs are what I call dark costs. For one student, the district may spend 100 staff hours or more fighting a family. That's not 100 hours helping a student, it's 100 hours documenting, denying, and managing conflict. For every case that settles, how many more are disappeared on purpose? The cost compounding, the damage real, and none of it on the balance sheet. During these drawn-out processes, the district often engages in unlawful and retaliatory behavior that invites new lawsuits for bullying, discrimination, and civil rights violations. And these costs are growing because as attention builds, especially after the Boston Globe article, there's a danger the district becomes more guarded, not more accountable. That instead of removing the conditions that lead to lawsuits, we just become better at winning them. But in a lawsuit, there are no winners. The family and the students suffer, staff morale and public trust wear thin, the system becomes less focused on education and more focused on defense. We already have the ruby slippers. The district already knows how to orchestrate a campaign to control process and minimize legal risk. That same diligence should be redirected into solutions. Let's ensure independent, transparent oversight, someone who is proactively engaged in legal, ethical solutions, not someone who fears retaliation. Let's aim for fewer lawsuits, not by becoming better at winning them, but by making sure fewer families need them. Thank you.
Thank you. And next is Cheryl Miller, who is here on Zoom. I want to make sure that we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Okay, great. My name is Cheryl Miller. I live at 10 Thesda Street. I am an autistic parent of 2 kids with disabilities in Arlington. First, I'd like to agree wholeheartedly with the previous speaker. We didn't coordinate this, but we are going to talk about fairly similar things. I would like to speak about ableism. Ableism is a form of bias, which at its core believes that there is one right way for a person's body and brain to work, and that anyone who differs from that standard is inferior. When I say ableism in the context of a school, I bet most of you are thinking of a kid calling another kid the R word, or making fun of someone for their differences. And yes, those are forms of ableism. But as with racism and sexism, there is also systemic ableism. Systemic ableism is why there are such disparities in outcomes for students with disabilities versus their non-disabled peers. There's so much I could say about this, but today I'd like to talk about one thing: special education accountability. Systemic ableism is why special education accountability is placed on families who are already under-supported, who are already spending eye-watering amounts of money for doctors and therapies, and who, in many cases, have disabilities themselves. Systemic ableism is why districts have taxpayer-funded lawyers whose job it is to twist every word, to deflect blame from the district at any cost, no matter how high, to do everything in their power to defeat families who did nothing more than have a child who has a disability and live in town. But schools do not have to take advantage of this systemic ableism. It is not against the law for schools to be honest with families instead of doing everything in their power to deflect responsibility. It is not against the law for schools to proactively and transparently hold themselves accountable. These are choices. Schools can choose to behave differently. And APS has in fact promised to behave differently. The strategic plan, which the superintendent claims is the map for the district's future, and which you as a school committee have adopted as policy, explicitly commits APS and Dr. Homan to improving the experiences of students with IEPs and their families. But Dr. Homan will not change or even discuss the approach to special education accountability. On the contrary, she is taking advantage of every structural inequality that I have laid out. She is weaponizing the fact that it is overwhelmingly difficult and expensive for parents to hold districts accountable. She is wielding the district's lawyer against families to argue that up really means down, that left really means right, and that facts don't exist, can't exist, only interpretations. And so APS will never, ever have to admit having done harm. What will the school committee do to hold Dr. Homan accountable for continuing to perpetuate systemic ableism in Arlington special education?
Okay, thank you. That concludes our public comment. Next, we're going to hear from the Arlington High School student representatives to the school committee. We also have with us this evening our representative from the Arlington Education Association, Ms. Keys. I know we have Zach here, and you're going to need to introduce yourself because you're not on my sheet, but you're very much present in our room, so we are looking forward to hearing from you.
Yes. Hi, I'm Sophia DeStefanis.
Hi, Sophia. Welcome. So what do you guys have to share with us tonight?
We have our spring sports. They're well underway. We just finished a very successful all-town pops concert at the town hall. We have our student class council elections underway, and voting will commence at the end of the month. We also just had an eco fair on the front lawn of the high school. That was very successful, and there was a bunny petting station, which was really cool.
Yep, and with the other end-of-year events, we have Arlington High School Art Show, which is actually happening right now. I think it'll finish before the end of the meeting, which highlights all the art that we've been doing. Also, the AP tests are finishing up this Friday. A lot of stress for high schoolers, but nice to get it done. A lot of the senior events are taking place. So you have Senior T-shirt Day, which is like where you come with your college like T-shirt or hoodie to school. Senior Sunset and Senior Prom. And then the Student Council just wrapped up two big events, our school-wide pep rally and Teacher Appreciation Week.
Excellent. Thank you. I've heard there might be a senior skip day too, but I imagine
Oh, yeah.
that is not a student council like sponsored activity.
I think it's class council, but I don't know if it's official.
We won't ask. Any questions for our student representatives from the committee? All right, seeing none, thank you for being here. If there's anything that you would like to speak to as we're moving through our agenda, just wave and let us know.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next item on our agenda is a discussion and possible vote around a scholarship named after Alan Hovhaness. I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Homan to sort of get us started. Is that okay?
Yes. Do we have a representative here, Ms. Diggins, who's going to speak to this?
Yes.
Cara, do you want to
Welcome.
come on up? Okay, so while Ara makes his way up here, I just want to share that this is a scholarship opportunity that has come to the Arlington Public Schools that we're very happy to support, and we have worked to make sure it fits within some of the parameters. We're in the process of taking some of this over from the town and including it in so the school committee will be occasionally, if we have new scholarships coming to us, voting for those, and then we'll be stewarding those through some of them on the school side. Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the scholarship, and then if the committee has any questions?
Yes, my name is Ara Gazarian. I'm the curator of the Armenian Culture Foundation on 441 Mystic Street in Arlington. Have been there for the past 25 years or so on that position. The Armenian Culture Foundation is proud to celebrate its 80th year as part of the Arlington cultural fabric since the early 1960s. We are honored to support the Alan Hovhaness Scholarship, named after Arlington's own world-renowned composer of over 500 pieces and 68 symphonies, and the 1929 graduate of the Arlington High School. Hovhaness's formative years in Arlington helped shape his musical genius, blending Western and Eastern traditions. His legacy is a point of pride for Arlington High School, or Arlington's high schools, particularly the over 100-year-old music department, inspiring students to explore diverse artistic expressions. Armenian Culture Foundation sponsors this scholarship to honor Arlington's cultural heritage and encourage young musicians to pursue their passions just as Hovhaness did. We believe in investing in the next generations of artists who reflect Arlington's rich artistic and multicultural identity. And that's the reason, basically, that we decided to support this scholarship for starting with an annual scholarship of $500 for students, qualified students who will be, of course, picked and through the processes with the cooperation and collaboration of the music department heads and then committees. And of course, with your approval.
Super. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing this with us. We were able to read more about this in our packet, which is great. So that puts us in a good position to be able to know what we're voting on. Are there questions from the committee about this? We did get some excellent information, which was really helpful. Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion to. So we need to vote to approve acceptance of the funds.
Yes.
That will then be dedicated to this scholarship.
Yes.
So I am looking for a motion.
I move to
Yes.
accept the funds from the Armenian Cultural Center for the scholarship just described.
Second. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Yes. Opposed? Abstentions? None. So that is there are 5 of us, 5-0 vote. Great, thank you so much. Thank you for coming. The next item on our agenda is a report on the Ponder Cafe.
All right. While Ms. Ludwig and students make their way up here, I just want to say it is my distinct honor to welcome all of you to school committee, and we just wanted to share a little bit with the school committee about the incredible programming happening in what some of you may have taken advantage of at some point during a visit to the high school at the Ponder Cafe. And this is a student-run initiative that the new building has allowed us to do all sorts of programming that teach business skills to students, and I'm sure they're going to tell you a lot about all of that. Erin, Ms. Ludwig, is that how you pronounce your last name? Am I saying it right? Am I close?
It's fine.
She's from the same part of the country that I am from, and has joined the team at Arlington High School last year for the first time, and has just been such a pleasure to have leading this program and coming up with new ideas for it alongside students. So I will hand it off to you and our students to share a little bit about what's been going on at the Ponder Cafe. Go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Holman. Thank you so much for having us here this evening. Ponder Cafe is something we are very proud of, and we're so excited to share it with you. It started as a brand new course called Marketing and Customer Service Experience, which would be taught by a yet-to-be-determined teacher in a space that was under construction. I will be forever grateful to those students who took a risk by being the first ever group of Marketing and Customer Service Experience students. I will also always remember my first group of Compass students, some of whom I've had the fortune of continuing to work with this year and hope to continue in the future. The cafe has evolved not only aesthetically, but socially, financially, instructionally, and functionally. Every student has an important role every day, and every customer helps to enhance our experiences as small business operators. I am so proud of all we have accomplished, and I am equally excited for next year. This business is truly student-guided. They do the market research. They design the logo and the menu and the mural. They carry out business-related tasks, such as simple food and beverage preparation, pricing, customer interaction, inventory, and sales analysis, to name a few. They visit nearby cafes to observe a similar small business and to find inspiration for our cafe. They interview small business owners to learn more about the struggles and successes of their chosen business paths. They go through the process of creating a business plan, so they are exposed to all that is involved when considering small business ownership. Additionally, in only 3 semesters, we have evolved into providing opportunities for independent study students, international students, volunteers, and interns. If you want to go to the next slide. I hope you were kind of reading along. I'm not going to read the words on the slide, but you can always go back and refer to it. And then there's just some images of our cafe. I am so thankful for all of the administrative and staff support in helping me guide the students to this point, and I am eager to see what more this class and Ponder Cafe can offer. With me tonight are 2 standout students. Logan is an international exchange student from Norway who has been in my class for the whole school year. It's just a semester class, but he had so much fun, he wanted to stick around for a second semester. He is incredibly personable, kind, and an extremely hard worker. Isa was enrolled as a student in my class first semester this year, and I learned very quickly how well-known and well-liked Isa is. He quickly mastered all aspects of running Ponder Cafe, and he has stuck around second semester as a volunteer before school to consistently help get everything up and running for the day at the cafe. Now, each student is going to share some of their experiences from the class and their time spent in Ponder Cafe.
Hello, my name is Logan Hesselberg. I am a foreign exchange student from Norway. I'm a senior at Arlington Public High School. And so I saw the course description, customer and marketing, and I thought I might as well just try that, right? It's only a semester class, let's see what happens. And from the get-go, I thought that this is an amazing class. Like, I learned how to be more independent. Miss L gave me the rules, and I just started to find my own way in that, and I could take responsibility when I wanted to, and I just thought it fit my personality completely. I loved it. I got to talk to people in the morning. I got to sell items. I love that selling personality. I used to work a telemarketing job, so it fit me perfectly. And then being able to find my own way in doing it, it was the best. And she taught me how to start my own business, which is way harder than I thought it was going to be. But the process was interesting. And I got to learn more about the students at Arlington, and especially as a foreign exchange student, I can't say we have anything like this in Norway at all. And I truly believe it's a subject we should keep because it's so cool. And being able to walk in the morning and put smiles on people's faces, it's amazing. Because I see that they truly enjoy the food we sell, and I get to also learn about how to deal with stress and how to deal with if something happens. There's tons of spills that always something happens in the cafe, and you always have to step in. Some people don't do that, but I love just trying to help and being able to help the community of the school. It's really nice. But I love the class marketing customer experience. Thank you.
You ready? You want to help him?
Hello, my name is Isa NC. I've been working in the cafe since last year as a class. I learned so much about how to be responsibility, clean up after people, organize everything, make the teas, coffees, quesadillas, cash register, muffins, dumplings. It takes a lot of practice to make sure you don't have mistakes and stuff. And I always gotta make sure to listen to the best teacher right here, because she taught me a lot. Saying every time when you use the hot griddle, put gloves on for you don't get germs on food products for no sickness. Same thing with the oven too, that she has in the front lobby. My favorite type is just being happy, coming to school early enough to set the coffees up for teachers before teachers don't want to waste their money at a coffee place. So we're just trying to get teachers those coffees right away. And I'm kind of enjoying doing my own time, being by myself, practicing at my own time. For me, since I've been learning a lot, from the cafe, feels like I could try to get some jobs like Dunkin' Donuts and other coffee places, maybe. But they might not be the same way as Ludwig's Cafe is. They might just be different coffee flavors, different tea flavors. And I would rather have hers way better than the other places. Because they're so expensive than hers.
Yeah. All right, Isa, thank you so much. Again, I'm a completely different person this year because of both of these kids here. So I'm very grateful for the energy and the life that they bring to the cafe. So as you can see on the images, we've added, if you've been to the building, you've noticed we've added tables around the cafe, and that's opportunities for staff to sit. It's not just for students, so the intermingling of staff and students on a daily basis. We've been able to open up blocks where there aren't classes for volunteers. I kind of like recruit regular customers and say, hey, do you need service hours? Are you available? You're here a lot. You must be off this block. Why don't you come work for us? So that we've included ninth graders. They volunteer during B block specifically. Just having fun with marketing, and as cheesy as it is, people go for stuff like that. So we've had, we called it Pondertines Day, and we had a little competition at the cafe, and just spotting the leprechaun around the school, and just having students be able to use their creativity in ways that may not get to in other classes. And I talk about that customer service rapport. I enjoy interacting with students who aren't my own, and I make sure to ask them their name and introduce myself to them, not only as a recruitment tool, but also so they feel like they belong, they feel welcome all the time. I don't know if you can tell in the right bottom image, those little colorful squares that are all over, since we kind of have a connection to the Smart Lab, we printed the future plans, the class of 2025 future plans. So there's I printed just 10 more, so there's about 110 senior college commitments up all over, like wallpaper at the cafe, so it's definitely very eye-catching and has drawn a lot of attention. What else here? And then just, we have a good system where I can pull any sort of sales data, and I think it's pretty impressive. Our most popularly sold items are the muffins, for sure, closely followed by Issa's quesadillas. And herbal chai latte would definitely less expensive than the competitors along Mass Ave. So, but I get so excited about just allowing the students to be involved in the major decision making. It's exactly what they choose it to be. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. This was a great presentation, and I follow you on Instagram, so I like watching, and I sort of take screenshots of it and text it to I'm sure there's a way to send it within Instagram, but I don't do those things, so I like screenshot it and then I text it to my kids, and I'm like, look, isn't this great? So it's an incredible space, and we're so fortunate to have it. I'm so grateful for this building, but it wouldn't matter if we had a great space if we didn't have incredible people who are willing to put the time and effort and energy and love into making it something really special and meaningful and educational, right? So I'm really glad that you all took the time to come and speak to us. It really, we learned so much from Issa and from Logan about what you're doing, and that tells us everything that we need to know. So questions, comments from the committee? Dr. Allison Ampe, followed by Mr. Thielman. And Mr. Schlickman, everybody's in tonight. We're a small group, so.
We have to do more talking to make up for the ones who are missing. So I'm on the building committee, and I remember back when we were talking about what we wanted to have in this new school, and this idea of having a cafe was brought to us, and we knew that it was going to mean more money in terms of staffing, because once we had it, we were going to have someone there, but it was felt by the building committee that it was something that was worthwhile, and it's so nice to see this come to fruition and to show that, it is, even though this new space required additional staff, it's providing so much more educational value than anything we had in the old high school. So thank you for coming, and thank you, boys, for talking to us.
Mr. Thielman?
I'm on the building committee with Dr. Allison Ampe, and I'm very pleased to hear about this activity. I'm curious, are you trying out new recipes all the time? Or are you like kind of, okay, but you don't want to reveal those to the public. You want to be careful. Don't ever do that. That's good. And I like the fact that you're undercutting the competition. That's good. And advertising it. Good for you guys. So thanks. It sounds like a great experience. I was just curious, like how many, I saw up on the slide, how many students are actively participating in sort of the management and the execution of the business?
Currently, we have 3 sections, A block, C block, G block, average of about 10 students in each course. We have 53 enrolled for next year so far, which is double what I know that I just said 30, but you know.
And then what's the, and how do, what's, I'm just curious to know, like, how do you structure it so that students, if a student wants to, like, try a new recipe and experiment with it and all that, like, how does that?
So I have a food prep background, and
Okay.
so last year, just kind of trying to navigate it initially, we did all food prep. I food handler certified, all my classes, and we created the back storage room into a food prep space, and we had a lot of food prep going on. And then I was kind of cautioned, well, that maybe someday we can evolve into food prep for business class, but the name of it is marketing and customer service. So let's put that first. I opened it up to students who were willing to be food handler certified. And they do a little bit more of the food prep. But a thing that we did at the beginning of the school year was we put out a survey. We did a survey of our market, and they said what were the top items you would like to see sold at the cafe. And so that kind of guided our menu planning as well.
What do they want?
Muffins. Muffins. And
no donuts.
was that?
No donuts.
No donuts.
Yeah, that's good.
No donuts, muffins.
Right.
And so, we have our bulk food supplier, and we found a batter. So, he can't keep up sometimes with the sales. So we have a food warmer. So we're baking in advance. I'm baking on my off blocks. We're just still trying to figure out the management. But there's students, and these two will agree. There's students who, I have like a schedule, and I train them in every area to start. And then they kind of settle into the area where they're most comfortable. And so, brewing or baking or customer service or quesadilla preparation, also very popular. And where was it? Oh, the refreshers. How the Starbucks and Dunkin' serve refreshers. They're nice herbal tea based, which we have a very good tea provider in the cafe. But they create a marketing. They create promotional materials for it, Instagram posts, whatever, and they're pretty and they're current with the season, and that's a way that the students' creativity can shine through as well. So just lots of possibilities, and I was nervous and I said no to a lot of things at first, but I'm slowly developing the trust and the confidence in them, and it's working. So
All right,
I'm very proud.
I'm going to buy a muffin. Got it. Thank you very much. Congratulations. This is really gratifying.
Mr. Schlickman?
Yeah, I mean, this is just wonderful. And I love the fact that I walked in the building earlier this week and saw all the college senior destinations posted around, and it's really a beautiful thing. And it's really great to know that you guys are responsible for that, because it's certainly just another opportunity for community building, and being such a prominent location in the common area of the school, it seems like something that's really going to, by its very nature, start to build community, and you're just adding on to it. So your dumplings are on blocks A, B, and C, and the quesadillas are B, C, and G?
Yes.
You want the hours?
Right, I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of interested in this because I love a good dumpling. And A sounds awfully early for me. But no, I'm sort of curious, of all things, how do we get the dumplings? That's not the. I expect the muffins and the cookies and the quesadillas are sort of in the domain I'd expect, but I didn't expect to see dumplings. How did that come about?
I don't know if there's an audience member who would like to comment on the dumplings, but Dr. Janger is the vision behind the dumplings.
The dumplings are fire, and the dipping sauce is incredible.
It's good to be the principal, right?
Honestly, the dumplings are like the first thing we talk about.
It's true.
There's a hockey rink in Arlington, Massachusetts, that serves dumplings in their snack bar. And I was like, you guys can make dumplings. I will say this about Cincinnati got me thought.
You gotta come to the mic now.
to the
You're gonna
mic.
keep talking, because people are gonna start emailing us, being like, we don't understand what's
So,
happening.
the one thing I will say, just echoing what folks on the building committee said, there was a vision of making this long before we knew Aaron, right? To have it be a space that was both an inclusion space, created opportunity for a wide range of students, gave more vocational resources in our school, which we don't have. And Aaron patiently showed up and pointed out we didn't have a plan for an ice machine, and about 1,000 other pieces that the nice little curve were, and spent a lot of time making that vision into a reality. So now seeing it come alive with these students, and it is just the heart of the school, right? The staff all come down to get their coffee. Issa's there with a smile on his face. And the coffee, one of my, other than dumplings and student learning, my other goal was that we would have the best coffee of any school in Massachusetts. And we've hit all of those. So thank you, Darren, all you guys.
Okay, so let's get the schedule down. When is A, B, C, and when is B, C, and G?
It changes every day, Mr.
It changes
Every day is the same.
Who authorized that kind of nuttiness? I don't know. But I'll stop by. It looks wonderful. Thank you.
Great. Ms. Keys?
I just want to say, little out in left field, but I was reading something the other day about like the effects of the pandemic and all this stuff. Issa was a Sky Kid in that crazy hybrid year in 7th grade at Ottoson. And we worried so much about kids' ability to connect and have community. And it makes me so happy to see that Issa has now found a role where he's really a leader in his community. And that's kind of awesome.
Thank you. Anybody else? Thank you all so much for,
I have
Dr. Holman.
one
Yes,
last comment,
please.
which is that we get a lot of questions about what deeper learning is and what that means and what that looks like. And the cafe presents an incredible example of it because there's so much choice. You all have so much agency to make decisions and guide the thinking around what the cafe looks like. It builds community and relationships. And so when we are talking about deeper learning, this facility gives us that capacity. We have a lot of other really awesome examples of it throughout the district. It doesn't require us to have the infrastructure for a cafe, but it has evolved as it goes. It changes every year, and it requires us to be adaptive. But you all have really been a model for what this can look like in an inclusive setting that pulls everybody into a space to learn together. So thank you all. Issa, I know that your teachers are very pleased to be caffeinated in the morning and that you all are doing a fantastic job in the cafe. And Logan, thank you both for your leadership
I could be
and for being
thanking her
here.
for teaching me all the work.
Of course, and your incredible teacher
That's
for all
on
the
my
work he's
future
done.
plans to say good memories of Ludwig.
Nice.
Thank you all so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you so much for coming. Next, we have the CPAC report from Ms. McWhorter and Ms. Weissman.
I will navigate for you all. You just need to tell me when to switch the slide, and I'll go to the.
Absolutely. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. So thank you so much for the time this evening. I'm representing the board of the Arlington CPAC, which is the Special Education Parent Advisory Council. I'm the parent of two brilliant dyslexic children, one of whom is at the Carroll School and the other is at the Brackett. I'm also neurodivergent, so I bring a wide variety of perspective, and I'm proud to say that the board overall also reflects a variety of perspective and experience within Arlington. Can we flip to the next slide? So we wanted to take a moment before we jump into the majority of the content for this presentation to just refresh everybody on the purpose of the CPAC. This comes from the Federation for the Children with Special Needs, which is kind of like the resource group that provides ongoing support to CPACs across Massachusetts. And the CPAC is an advisory council. It's a legally mandated entity within Massachusetts and across the United States. And we are here to gather information from families and make recommendations that can be used by decision makers and local leaders like all of you here today. And we are here to advise, advocate, and offer guidance. And I hope that what you'll see in our presentation today reflects that mandate. and that we can continue to figure out how to work even more together. We can flip to the next slide. So I wanted to give an update on what we've been up to over the last 9 months. We started out really focused on some structural changes. So we were an entirely new or almost entirely new board. And so this has been a learning and a building year together. We started by really updating our bylaws, which hadn't been updated in a long time. So we're now in compliance with those updated bylaws, and those were approved in our September meeting. There were some important changes that are reflected there. So clarification of roles and membership. We established, there were already kind of 2 groups of members within a CPAC. There's voting members and then general members. Voting members are individuals who are responsible for a student that lives in the district. They don't have to be enrolled in a district school, but they have to live in the district. Whereas general members is like anybody who is interested in special education, public schools in Arlington. So that can literally be anybody. And as part of that update, we created opportunities for that voting membership to join together for more kind of peer-held interactions and sharing of information, and had differentiated opportunities for general membership meetings. And then the final piece is that we updated the bylaws to reflect the current understanding of the application of open meeting laws with respect to CPACs, which is the TLDR version. They don't actually apply because we're not an elected body in the same way the school committee is. You are welcome to review those on our website if you would like. We also spent a lot of time strengthening communication and engagement. So we updated that website. We created a CPAC newsletter, which is delivered at least 2 times a month. And that's something that parents as well as others have been really grateful for. And we're grateful for the APS and Allison Elmer for sharing information ongoingly that we can disseminate. We grew that email subscription list by about 21%, which is a pretty big deal over the course of a year. And we saw significant improvement in monthly meeting attendance by caregivers and parents, which was one of our initial goals. Our last meeting, which was this Tuesday, focused on supported, I'm going to screw this up, Allison.
Supported learning centers.
Supporting learning, yes, SLCs, was attended by almost 40 people, which is a significant growth over what we were seeing in previous years. We also saw, I think it's increased engagement. For us, it's increased engagement with APS, both meeting with Dr. Homan, but also regular engagement with Ms. Elmer and other members of the district as appropriate. And we had a series of workshops for parents based on survey results from the previous year, which you'll remember when we convened at about this time last year. Those included a really popular and amazing session. It's recorded on our website about sexuality, puberty, and autism, which was fantastic. Our standard basic rights workshop with the Federation, which is a legal obligation as the CPAC. And then an introduction to mediation and due process with staff members from BSCA, which was also very well attended. And then finally, and this is a spoiler alert for what's to come, we, in collaboration with APS, increased our annual CPAC survey response rate from 136 to 345, which is a 154% increase. So kind of a big deal, which we're very proud of and very grateful for. We can flip to the next slide. So, but I wanted to just kind of go back in time for a moment and talk about what we learned in the fall. We had a spot survey, a spot feedback opportunity, where we opened up kind of an open-ended survey to parents and caregivers to just check in, see how things were doing, and see what they wanted us to be focused on as the new board. And we learned a couple of things. So the headline is that the fall data says very similar things to the spring survey data, which was shared with all of you. What's working is staff. The individual staff that students interact with are the standout across the board, and this includes paraprofessionals at every building. We saw examples of flexibility and problem solving within some school teams. So there were really compelling stories around that. We heard about ongoing feedback opportunities, inclusive and co-taught classes as being powerful learning opportunities for students, and social emotional supports when they are appropriately available and staffed. So a slight caveat on that point. We can flip to the next slide. So then what's challenging? The process, and I think you heard some of that earlier today, is complex, and the bar from the parent perspective is set by the legal requirements. So the implications of that is that oftentimes parents feel that students and the student experience can be missed in that, and that can be really challenging from a parent perspective. There are communication and transparency gaps reported across the board, and I'll return to that point in particular when we talk a little bit. I'll give you a snapshot into what we're starting to see from the spring survey. We heard about inconsistent implementation of IEPs and 504s, staffing turnover, concerns about a feeling that there's a wait and see approach. So it's kind of like, well, we'll see how your child does in this environment or with this intervention, and then we'll kind of feel out what's going to happen. And it doesn't. Most parents report that it feels kind of strung out over time, and that there's not an urgency behind it that I think a lot of parents would want to see. And then the transitions between schools are really challenging. So I think in particular, the shift from elementary to Gibbs and Gibbs to Addison is something that we hear about a lot. But I think that also applies as we think about at the high school, and then also as we consider post-secondary, which is really the ultimate goal of special education, is to prepare students for post-secondary success. And flip to the next slide. Annual survey. This was a team effort, so I just want to pause and say thank you. Huge debt of gratitude to the 345 individuals who completed the survey, to the CPAC survey subcommittee. This is an entirely volunteer group, and these are experts in the field. So these are quantitative and qualitative researchers who are doing this on the side. And then the administration for dedicated email communication and driving things out, which we saw spikes in returns every time emails came out, especially from you, Dr. Homan. So very appreciative of that. So I want to talk a little bit about why we care about the survey and why we've dedicated so much time and effort to it. So research shows us that when we measure what stakeholders perceive and feel, we gain foresight into what students will achieve. This is borne out. This is why we do things like Panorama. And so the survey results are not meant to be an evaluation in the sense of saying, like, did we or did we not achieve goals? But is meant to inspire conversation and insights so that we can identify where we can do better and where we can emulate what's working really well. You can flip to the next slide. In particular, parent perception data, research once again shows us, predicts student results better in many cases than other data. It gives us early warning diagnostics, so it shows us where things are likely to unravel. And it often pinpoints actionable issues. And this is what why the survey committee continues to spend so much time analyzing the data, redesigning the survey, and disseminating it. You can flip to the next slide. So I already said this, but I'm going to say it again because I'm really, really proud of this group and the administration for really driving this growth in the survey response rate. This is really incredible. I will admit that the committee was not prepared for this amount of response and the wealth of open-ended answers that we received, and so we are still in process on analyzing them. I'll have a couple of themes that we do feel confident that we can say based on that initial analysis, but I would ask that the school committee allow us to come back in early September when we will have that complete report done so that we can share those that fuller, kind of more robust analysis out at that point. We can flip to the next slide. What we can say is that everybody responded. So last year we had gaps in kind of categories of responses, and this year we saw every grade and every school. We saw a diversity of current enrollment in APS as well as attending schools in other settings. We saw students with IEPs, 504s, both and neither. And we saw every single IEP eligibility category reflected in the results. So we feel very confident that with both this increased response rate, but also that diversification of who was responding to the survey, that, that we'll have even better conclusions coming out of it as we look to next year. I'm gonna, before I jump, you can leave this slide up, but before I jump into this, I just wanted to share three kind of like big takeaways from this initial analysis. So the first is based on communication, is about communication. This is something that we saw in the spring, or in the last spring survey as well. Communication patterns between parents and the school remain highly variable, both in terms of response times and the quality of those responses. So we had examples of parents feeling like they got excellent communication, and other examples where parents were like, I never hear from the school. So there's very wide variability, and it's not one-offs. We try to moderate for kind of like stuff that's like way on the tails, but there's very significant variability. We also saw a continued theme of people feeling like they had individual staff, so specific educators. I think we had an example of one just now, who are transformational in a student's learning journey and their trajectory as a future adult. What we did not see is that scales up to a systemic effect. Mm-hmm. So we saw that at an individual level, but not at a whole of system level. I think one theme that we've actually been tracking all year, and this is more in anecdotal information. So as a board, we get approached a lot by parents who have questions, who have concerns, who are trying to navigate the system. And one of the themes that came through is that the experience between buildings is dramatically variable. So we would hear about amazing interventions in one building, horrible experience in another building. And so there's something happening, and this is something we want to dig into more, about the variability within individual environments that's important for us to dig into collectively. We had the privilege of, Anna and I got to look at some of the disaggregated panorama data, and that pointed to a very similar trend in terms of highly variable results from parent perception, but also student impact. So that's a theme that we really want to dig into, and that's part of why we want to spend time with that survey data to make sure that we're getting kind of more nuanced understanding of what's going on there from the parent perception standpoint. Okay, so then we also asked families what they wanted from CPAC. And there were three kind of big chunks of information, of feedback here. So one is more resources and education. So we're excited to continue to do more workshops, provide more resources. We'd like to continue collaborating with Allison, as well as the Welcome Center and Arlington University. Am I getting that right? To make sure that we're sharing out existing resources, but also developing new resources, like the session that we had on Tuesday, to meet the current needs of parents as we're receiving them. More community building, so parents want to be coming together. That parent community is really, really invaluable. But then explicitly requesting stronger advocacy from the CPAC to the school committee and Arlington Public Schools. This was word for word, while advisory is in our name, advocacy is the word that parents are using. So they want a louder voice, and they want us to be louder on their behalf. And so part of what we want to better understand as the CPAC is how do we do that collaboratively with the school committee and the administration to ensure that we're moving in the direction of the strategic plan and sufficiently representing parent voice in those conversations. We have a few ideas for this. If we can flip to the next slide. So where do we go from here? On the CPAC action plan side of things, we're continuing to complete that data analysis. Thank you, Survey Subcommittee. We'll be preparing a full report and really do look forward to sharing that out. We'd also like to have more kind of what I would call sense-making conversations. So digging into that data to try to understand what it's telling us and separating signal from noise and how to make sure that it is as useful to the public school as possible. We'll also be planning for priorities for next year based on that survey data, and we'll be doing that over the summer. Our requests from you all are, as I said earlier, time in September to share those results. We'd also request information from the school committee and the leadership of the administration regarding priorities and open questions so that we can do a better job actually soliciting the information that you all want and need. So it's felt like it's us kind of learning and then pushing things out. I think we would all like this to be a two-way conversation. And so figuring out what does that look like is something that we'd like to be engaged with. And then similarly, two-way information sharing so that it's not just us coming, but that there's back and forth. And so we'd actually really like to open up an invitation to school committee members to come to CPAC meetings, not every CPAC meeting, but some CPAC meetings, to actually share about the priorities of the school committee, what you all are working on, so that parents can be hearing more about what's going on. With that, I will close.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much for coming. And we look forward to having you back in the fall at
Thank you.
When it works when
Yep.
it works for you to review more of the more of what you got from the survey and share that with us. Questions, comments from the committee on where we're at right now, Mr. Schlickman?
Yeah, this is an informative first step in terms of opening a line of communications. And being a retired educator, I've experienced and seen a lot of these things in my classroom, my school, my district where I worked. And I'm seeing a couple of, first of all, I want to talk about the wait and see problem.
Yes.
And that's just sort of common to the whole process, as the law requires us to serve children, but it also requires us to serve them in the least restrictive environment. And anytime I see a wait and see kind of thing going on, it's sort of one of these iterative things where they're trying to find the least restrictive environment in order to provide the best possible setting for a child. And you do have to wait and see to a certain extent. To what extent are we sort of lagging on this, or is this just one of those cases where it's difficult to communicate the need within the context of the law to wait and see, actually?
Yeah, so I think I don't think any parent wants their child to be in a more restrictive environment than is necessary. And I think parents also understand that that we need to try things out and we need to see what's going to work, and that every kid is distinct, and so that makes sense. I think the thing that is challenging from my perspective, and would be curious to hear what you think, Anne, is that it's the process for doing that isn't transparent. And so you don't, like, unless you're a pretty knowledgeable and pushy parent, and you know what you can ask for, you don't actually, like, you aren't offered benchmarks for when the wait and see isn't working. You're not, so like if you're moving through response to intervention or tier 2 MTSS, like you don't know what is actually going to trigger another step in the intervention process. We know that individual schools have student support teams or other named bodies that do make decisions around this. That's not particularly transparent to the parent, and it's not shared broadly or consistently, to my knowledge. And so it feels very much like a black box. And I think when you have a kid who is in crisis or entering crisis, you're already sending them into a building where you don't go unless you're invited in for the most part. And then there are decisions that are being made that you don't have transparency into. And I think we also understand that teachers need to be able to make decisions and not have it feel overly loaded, but there's got to be a balance there. And I think the balance is off.
It sounds like we're doing the right thing for the most part, but we're not really communicating it.
I don't know if that's true.
Okay.
If I might have a moment.
Microphone.
I think this would be a great opportunity to approach that question with curiosity. One of my hopes for this coming year is that we can facilitate conversations with parents and individuals such as yourself who are very knowledgeable about the school side and see if we can listen to one another to understand a little bit better about where the expectations are missing. I have my own perceptions about your answer, or an answer to your question. I think what is more important, though, is the opportunity to, finding an opportunity to really say, are the expectations you have as an educator and as an administrator being met? Are you hearing what you expect to hear from parents? And so really, I think letting down the defensiveness and coming to the table in a very open-hearted way, both as parents and as a school committee, to say, what conversation can we have here? Because that's a very, I'm sure you know more than me, a very important part of the special education process.
Well, I don't know if I know more than you or not. I mean, the one thing is that in a professional setting, if I was running a school or overseeing an aspect of district operations, I have access to all sorts of data information, can visit, can evaluate, I can walk into the classroom and get a sense of what's going on. From my seat here in the school committee, it's inappropriate for me to do. I don't go around to buildings because that's sort of not what we do. We're a governing body. So basically what I'm receiving as a school committee member are mostly anecdotal things, and I'm hearing things from range A of, I thank God for the Arlington Public Schools Sped Department, they saved my child's life, to some of the complaints that are pretty obvious and we're hearing tonight. So, but it's all just sort of anecdote here, anecdote there, and there's just really not a good way for me to understand this systemically, because despite my training as an evaluator and administrator, I can't use that, and I can't get in and get a real sense of that. So a better partnership, cooperation with the CPAC and the committee and the administration to triangulate this and look for the places where we're doing well, but there's something else we could be doing, I think would be very valuable.
I think, can I just add one note there? I think one of the ways that I do think the school committee can provide additional, I don't know if oversight is the correct word in this context, But it was notable to me in reviewing the school improvement plans that there were some school improvement plans that included report outs on numbers of students who were kind of like run through the student support team process and what the results were. There were other school improvement plans that didn't have any reference to that. And so I think that there are places where we can clearly see signal about what is prioritized by the individual principal and the senior leadership within that building. And I would say that asking, I think getting curious, to use Anne's words, about why sometimes those data points aren't included and in other places they are, and whether or not that's a reflection of a deprioritization or a mismatch of understanding between the district's priorities and the priorities as the principal of that individual school understands them to be.
Okay. That's all for me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Ms. Gittleson?
Hi. Yeah. Sorry. I am really interested, particularly, and this is beyond SPED stuff, but I'm very interested in what makes good communication and less good communication.
One of my favorite
so
topics.
I heard some reference as you gave your presentation to you seeing in your surveys some wide disparities, but that at least I think I heard you say that there are schools that you had the impression were doing a particularly effective job. And so as you dig deeper into that data, I think that's what I want to know. The schools, and I don't even need to know which schools you're talking about, but I want to know what it is. The people who, and full disclosure, I filled out your survey. I want to understand what is making for the people, parents who feel included in that communication process versus don't. And I'm really curious to know also, and I don't know if your data can get at this, is where the correlation there is between parents who are getting what they think they should be getting versus how much of it is communication and how much of it is substantive. I'm just very interested in trying to parse that out as best we can, because I think we can learn a lot from that, and in terms of hopefully making the system work better for everyone within the legal context in which we operate, which is where we live.
Yeah. I appreciate that. And I think in this case, there's actually a rich body of research on effective communication around special education and the impact of certain conversational moves to allow for more trust building and powerful student-centered conversations. So I think we can look at things both from the survey results, but also from the research base that currently exists, I think. But I will say that based on that research base, it's less about whether or not you as the parent are getting what you think your child needs, and it's more about whether or not you feel like somebody is being open and honest with you. So small moves around transparency and saying, hey, I know we talked about this, but I wanted to give you a heads up that it's not going to happen on this timetable. Parents are much more likely to be like, okay, I get it, we're human. And so little things like that can go a very long way.
I wanted to thank you for that question, and to say that when we put together the final report, we will do our best to call that specific question out a little bit extra, because I think that's a pretty important framing.
Yeah.
Super, thank you. And I guess what this is actually sort of interesting that that you've come. I'm really grateful that you're willing to come twice, because we're basically, because I will say I did it. I had a moment of wait, are we getting these survey results? And I'm like, no, not yet. Okay, which is fine, right? This is our pre-read. No, I learn in iteratively. So for me, this is really helpful. I guess what is helpful for me is understanding from the data that you've collected, within our spheres of influence, what are sort of, what is actionable for us, right? We write policy, we approve the budget, right? That's a big deal, right? Because, even the most, under-resourced departments, groups, schools, they struggle to provide for every student, right? So we want to understand where, to Ms. Gittleson's point, are there things that are working particularly well? Is that because of some resource that is available there that isn't perhaps available someplace else, and what does that look like? So that is really, those are sort of places, and then, obviously we oversee the work of the superintendent. We can, to some degree, provide some direction to her, but really it's around that sort of resourcing piece is where we have levers that we really can pull, right? Because we can't send a budget to town meeting that doesn't come through us, right? It's actually different than even the town, right? The town manager can go there with what he wants to go with, and the schools, it's our budget, it's our sort of allocation of resources. So with that lens, in terms of being in a sort of working on a relationship with us, right? Engaging around the things that we have control over allows it to be a more sort of fruitful engagement, I think. So I would encourage you, as you parse through this, when you think about us as your audience, those are our, those are the widgets we can move, right? We can write policy, we can approve policy, we can change policy, right? We control the budget, right? It's our money, because it's actually all of our money, right?
Yes.
It is our town's money. So that's helpful for me, because those are the places that I know that we have more ability to sort of engage with. So thank you very much.
Ms. Elmer has a question.
Oh, yes.
I just wanted to thank Ms. McWhorter and Ms. Weissman. We've met a lot this year, particularly Elizabeth and I. I think we're on a monthly basis.
Sometimes every 2 weeks.
Sometimes, yeah. And the committee has done a lot this year to expand the number of folks on the committee, and therefore creating subcommittees. And so they've been able to accomplish a lot this year through the efforts to get more folks involved. So
Thank you.
I just want to take a minute to respond and say that as we work on being stronger advocates, we're probably just going to fumble around a lot along the way. And so guidance is really appreciated from that perspective. It's good to have the understanding from the start.
Dr. Homan?
And I'll just add that we then have a lot of levers that we can work together to adjust, and I'm really excited to see the shift in turnout on the survey, because that means we had worked directly with you all to think about, okay, what can we do with the information that we might get from this question? And so I know that we're going to wait for a formal report in the fall, but we're going to be planning over the next many months. And so I hope maybe we can set up a time to go through some of this together and have it sort of help inform some of the things we work on over the summer as we head into the school year. Your point about the data we present on school improvement plans, these are things that we're starting to think about now. So I look forward to working with you soon.
And we can share a snapshot and some of that kind of more detailed data earlier. We just couldn't get it done for this meeting. And we actually had a meeting with Dr. Coleman and talked about him digging into the data with us to ensure that it's connected into what he's building.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming.
Thank you all.
We're going to move up the finance report, number 4, and take that out of order next.
Thank you. Okay.
So,
hold on one second. Let me pull it up. So Mr. Gorski is at the, I'm not going to know what MASBO stands for, but the annual gathering of finance gurus for schools. That's where he is. School Business Officials, Massachusetts Association of School Business Officials. That's where he is. And so our fantastic Director of Finance, Mr. Tam Tran, is here to talk to all of you about the quarterly financial report. This is the fourth one of the year. We're happy to we will be coming back with an update on transfer categories in particular. Might be able to give you a little bit more data as well if it's desired at that time. And I will hand it over to Mr. Tran. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Introduce yourself too, because I don't know that they've all met you yet.
Sorry. My name is Tam Tran, Director of Finance. So today we're walking through the quarterly financial report for the Arlington Public Schools ending April 30th, 2025. This is the data coming from our Munis financial systems. The report format is basically the same as the previous quarter we presented. So the first page gives us a quick narrative of what this report is about, and also a brief description of all the terminologies that we see through the reports here. So if we go down a little bit further, it's going to jump into the first category of the report, which is the optical listing. The optical listing are basically categories of expenses that we have in our system, where we're spending our money, ranging from salaries to stipends to office supplies, contract service, and so on. So basically, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of this report, you will see the grand total of how we spend our money. So the first column is the original budget, which is $96.5 million. There are transfers in, transfer out, resulting in $700,000 in transfer. The revised budget gives us $97,226. And then the next column, there are the expended, how much we spend, how much basically pay our vendors up to date. And then the encumbrances represents the open purchase orders that we commit to the vendors that we will pay as long as they provide us the services and goods, and we receive invoices, we'll pay them. So those represents the opening purchase orders. Excuse me. And the next column are projections, basically what we predict, what we anticipate that we need for the rest of the year closed out. 90% of the projected amount there represents our payroll remaining. We have a variety of staff that we still have like 8 more weeks of pay versus there are some staff that are 4 weeks of pay. So that represents all the remaining payrolls for them. And also any, excuse me, any articles that's non-salaries that we have balance in there, we anticipate we're going to spend all down. That makes up that projection amount. So the remaining column represents the revised budget minus all the encumbrances, expenses. Projection gives us the remaining. So overall, excuse me. Overall, we have a currently right now it shows a deficit of $113,000 deficit. But right now we're in the process of doing our end of year preparation. Evaluating any open purchase orders. So the finance staff members, it's just 3 of us, myself, the AP specialist and PO specialist, 3 of us went to each individual schools and met with the administration staff and the principals, and we basically go through all the open POs they have, and we identify which POs we can close, which POs we can reduce, and which POs we need to keep it open until the end of the year. We also met with all the coordinators and directors of the schools as well, special ed department, the music coordinators, science, and so on. And again, we go through the list of purchase orders, identify which one we could reduce, close, and keep it open. So by doing that, we are able to identify roughly $150,000 POs that we can close out at this point, which gives us a little bit of surplus at the end of the year. Now, this amount is still fluctuates because we're still evaluating POs, and we might be closing more POs than we seen so far, or maybe some departments need additional money in their POs to keep it going to the end of the year. So that number will fluctuate a little bit, but it's we're going to have a little bit of a surplus. And we also do a lot of cleanup as well, looking at all the previous record of purchase orders. We've seen purchase orders that are created in fiscal year 23 and 24 that are still carried over to 2025. So we are looking at those to see if we can close them as well if we no longer need them. So all that activities will show in our encumbrance column to be reduced, and will hopefully we'll have a surplus. And the next report, scroll up a little bit, the next report gives another viewpoint of how we're spending our budget. So the first report we're looking at were object codes. This second piece right here shows us how, at the department level, how the schools, how much we budget for the schools, how much they spend, how much they have left encumbered, and so on. So as we scroll down, we can see the total for the budget. And the next category is by budget category reports. These are the voted budget categories that were approved at the beginning of the year. So the categories we're looking at the category level, at a higher level, how we spend our money, our budget. And again, we can see that we have a deficit of $113,000 total, and the majority of the where we spend our special education, we spend more than we budgeted.
I just want to pause here because I think one thing to note is that we're still working on that encumbrance PO process. Like the next thing we need to focus on is doing some of that with facilities. They just had a new director come in, like now that we've done schools and academic departments and special education, transportation and tuitions, to do some reconciling of just how much exactly are we anticipating coming in. I know that the special education office just did a big reach out to vendors around transportation to make sure we have all of the invoices in so we can do a more accurate projection out to the end of the year. So some of this should shift in that special education category. We obviously need to still move around dollars into other lines. And so that'll be the focus for the next several weeks, is to get the transfer categories correct, get transfers done and over to the comptroller, and then hopefully have a system set up so that that can come at a more regular basis moving forward.
Yes. So if we go down a little bit further, now we are in the revolving accounts reports, showing us all the revolving accounts we have. This is the year-to-date activities for all of our revolving accounts. We're still collecting revenues coming in from building rentals and tuitions. So we are in the process of creating invoices to be mailed out to our customers. And then the next, scroll down a little bit further, our grants. Here shows all of the grants that we apply for. There are 3 types of grants. We have private, state, and federal grants. Some grants are multi-year grants, meaning if we don't spend our awarded amount this year, we can carry over to next year. So that's why you will see 23 grants and 24 grants in here as well. We are still working on drawdowns. Our grants manager is on maternity leave, so we're behind on the drawdown, but we anticipate to do catching up drawdown this month to draw down the cash for these grants. And that's it for the reports.
Great, thank you. I'm going to take my prerogative to ask my questions first because I will forget them after I listen to everybody else. So just to reorient, it's been a while since we've had one of these. So on page, there are no page numbers. Okay. So page numbers would be great in the future. That would help a lot. So I am seeing, I think I am on page 8. So I see, a big elementary system-wide deficit of over $1 million, but then school budgets that are positive. And my assumption is that this is still that artifact of moving these positions, which is why one looks really scary, and then I look at these elementary schools and I'm like, why aren't you spending this money?
That's
okay,
salaries.
so that's
yes.
that that sort of in,
Salaries in the
out?
wrong spot.
Okay. And then the other one that I had a question about was 321, the superintendent and administration total has a huge remaining, like 1.2 million.
It's very likely a salary in the wrong spot. Oh, no, that's the contingency. That's the contingency.
I see.
It's sitting there.
Okay.
It needs to,
It's in the same
the salaries, so this was the load issue
Yeah.
into FY '25. The salaries were not loaded in the correct place. That contingency set of dollars is still in that spot. So we really need to do the transfer on that into these other categories. It's going to be a big transfer, and so having the salaries expended for the most part allows for that transfer to be done in one transfer over to the comptroller's office. But that's what we'll be doing the next several weeks.
Okay. And I guess, it sounds like we're going to be okay. I will say, big advocate of spending our resources, right? And I can't remember a time when it's been the middle of May and we're balancing our end number by saying, oh, but it's cool because we're not going to spend these POs, right? Like, we're really dependent on that 150. And I get that there's always money in these POs at the end, right?
Right.
And I have never seen a sheet balanced by that before. And I've been here, I don't know, maybe this used to happen, but this hasn't happened for a long, like, since I've been here.
It has, but it hasn't been explicitly laid out.
Okay, all right.
It has been done before this report is in front of you. So it's been anticipated. So basically what would happen is that projected column, we would adjust that based on what we anticipated some of those PO closeouts would look like.
Okay.
We would say, there's no way all of that that's encumbered for that cost is actually going to get expended. So we'll project that we'll take some of that encumbrance out, or we'll reduce.
Okay.
So it has been done. It just hasn't been, like, this is where we're at right now.
Okay, but and
Very
this is
clear
in
picture
some
of that.
respects more honest because nobody's gone in
Correct.
and
Yes.
piddled
Correct.
with the, like, this is budget minus, so projected is budget, revised budget minus expended
Right.
equals projected.
Minus,
Without,
minus encumbrance as well.
sorry, of course, yeah, but like, we didn't encumber salaries, so like, that's all
No.
like,
But the projection on the salaries
Right.
is accurate to what we're going to expend for the rest of the salaries.
okay.
So this is accounting for all of the salaries, but none of the removal of encumbrances that don't get spent or POs that are not all the way spent down that we're not gonna be spending all of.
Okay. Okay. Great. And then, we've really got to fix that Hardy summer school thing.
Yes.
When, like, we have been asking for this
I know.
to Mr. Gorski for probably 6 months. So please fix it. Please make that go. It's confusing. It's a big dollar amount. We do not do summer school at Hardy. I don't know what needs to be done to fix it, but it really needs to be fixed. So, okay, others, questions, Dr. Allison Ampe.
Thank you. So I'm looking at page 4, and actually it's in another place, but I'm just wondering why we're so far behind on contracted transportation.
Contracts, transportation, that's for the other districts, students, contracts. I think this is a challenge for the prior district I was at, Brookline. We had the same issue. Vendors are having difficulty finding bus drivers to meet their obligated contract. So Brookline as well as here, we're looking for like smaller vendors that would actually shuttle our kids to the districts. So smaller vendors do tend to charge more higher rate than a bigger contract would. So that cost is basically, I met with the finance manager for the special ed, Andrea. We went through and she worked with all those vendors, and she, on top of it, she called all the vendors, making sure that we get the invoices, the rates are accurate, are they still accurate, still actively picking up the kids, and so on. So that cost is basically from all those little smaller vendors that we use to shuttle our kids versus have one big contract for all the students.
Okay.
Ms. Elmer, did you want to add something?
Yeah, so also just the way that the billing comes, it comes after it's been completed. So part of the reason why we're still like trying to do the projections is that we don't get April's until the middle of May, end of May. But the lab contract, which we do the bulk of our transportation through, that rate changes depending on the number of kids who are on the bus for any given run. So we might start the year with a run and they're charging us a rate because there's 5 students using that rate from Arlington and other communities. And then a student drops off because he goes and then the rate changes, or they get added and then the rate might actually drop. So that number that's what Mr. Tran is talking about, and trying to reconcile each individual student based on the number of days left, based on the current rate, so that we could have those projections.
Okay, it's looking to me like we're way over twice as much spent as budgeted, and that seems excessive. And also, it's confusing because it doesn't travel through, the special budget isn't as much out of whack as that.
It's not, and I know when you were reconciling it the other day, you were in within a couple $1,000, so I'm not exactly sure what you're looking at on that.
Well, which line are you looking at?
I'm looking, okay, so I'm on page 4. I'm looking at line 520404, and I'm comparing the revised budget line with the combined total of the spent and projected. And
Yeah, that is not, I don't know that that's the out-of-district transportation. I think that might be a different line.
Okay.
So we might need to look into that one.
Okay, I'll look into it further.
It might be partially that, but I don't know that that's.
Yeah, because our encumbrance was like I said, was in a couple $1,000s of what that individual recalculation was.
Okay, so maybe next meeting
We
we
do
could
have
have
the
some more
district
clarity.
run.
Just, that's a big out of whack.
That transportation
Is that the
line
in-district run?
in particular
This particular report doesn't break it down.
doesn't look right, because what the amount of encumbrance sitting there.
I would be happy to find out it's wrong, as long as it goes down.
Yep.
And if we can just get more information about it next time, and maybe if, I have a few other questions, but maybe I'll send them to Mr. Gorski, and we can bring this up again at our next meeting. Okay, thank you.
All right, anybody else? Mr. Schlickman?
Thank you. Well, you sort of answered the one question I had regarding the transportation, if that was indeed special education. And how much of that would be circuit breaker reimbursed?
I believe right now the circuit breaker is only for tuitions, I believe. Correct.
They do allow for some transportation. They just announced that they are willing to increase it, I think was from the report we received from MASS, that was voted, or that went
Yes,
through
but I
the
don't know
Senate,
what
made it all the way through.
what the impact's going to be yet.
Yep.
Okay. The other challenge is that I'm very much aware that the finance office was diminished tremendously this time last year. We didn't have the staffing to go and close out the budget and do everything properly, as well as loading the budget this year. And all year we've had discussions of things in the wrong place, loaded into munis wrong. What should we be looking for this year in terms of setting up the fiscal 26 budget? Are there differences that we're going to be able to see and should be watching for here in the school committee room and the reports that we're getting along? Or is a lot of this going to be seamless back office things that won't be 100% readily apparent to us? What are we going to notice?
So ever since I've been here, I see we did a lot of corrections as staff where we budget correctly, but the budget was in the wrong account numbers, and the staff were assigned to the wrong account numbers. So we budget over here, we assign staff over here. So if you look at our chart of accounts, we see some salary lines are over budget, and some have a huge surplus. But overall, if you look at the overall organization or sub-department, it's fine, right? So by looking at that, we see all this negative, oh my goodness, we kind of surprised, we kind of shocked. But we, since during the budget season, Liz and Director of HR, we went through the whole entire roster of our staff and make corrections. Okay, this person should be this account, this person at this location, so therefore they should be this account. So we made that correction in payroll already. So in 26, when we look at our budget by line items, we should see the actual expense hitting the correct account for the staff. So there won't be there shouldn't be that many negative, if any, there at all.
I mean, the other thing that we've noticed, and I've been on the school committee for a while, that every time we get new finance director, budget director, new people coming through the office, we see sometimes significant changes in organization, layout, presentation. So we're, in essence, every couple of years learning a new system. So that's sort of one of the reasons why I'm asking if our experience is going to be different going through, so we can just have our eyes open and be aware. Through the chair, the superintendent's got her hand out.
Ms. Morgan?
Sorry, yes, please,
Okay.
by all means.
So I think we're reaching a point where, so the last memo that you got and this one took the same approach to just a very transparent snapshot of where we're at right now. We're going to continue to do that. There was appreciation for that last time. I think, yes, it's May. I understand that we get to a point where you want to see some of this stuff move around. I think our ability to do some of that next year with a fully staffed finance office and payroll office, we have not wanted to move salaries around, move a major bucket of contingency dollars over into salary prior to our payroll manager starting and seeing the system and deciding where do we want things to go. That happens in early June. And so we're looking forward to loading the budget correctly and therefore charging the budget correctly, which should lead to a much sort of clearer vision there. The other thing that we're going to take a look at in the next couple of months is in what cases do we need to do open purchase orders, and in what cases do we want folks to go through the more sort of standard requisition process. We have a lot of open purchase orders in this system, and an open purchase order basically speeds up the process. You have a purchase order number, you call the vendor who takes purchase orders, and you give them the number, and it's there. But you don't have to go through the process of getting a purchase order number. But you really only need stuff like that with vendors that you're frequently purchasing from, and you can see multiple orders in a year, and we have that data. So we're going to use that to have some parameters around open purchase orders. The finance team will have more staff in the room, so they should be able to move through requisitions and generate purchase order numbers really quickly, and that enables us to keep a tighter grip on where we're actually at and what we're going to actually spend before the end of the year, which you need to do if you're going to have a tighter planned budget, which we have, because that's the trajectory we've been on for many years now. So you should also see fewer dollars tied up in purchase orders as we head towards the end of the year. And our goal is to do what our goal has been for a while, which is to do a round of transfers earlier in the year, should it be necessary based on what we're seeing in a quarterly report that's transparent.
Having lived with a bunch of open purchase orders in my back pocket when I was working, because the nature of stuff I dealt with, I really understand what you're saying. And I appreciate your effort to be iterative in that and trying to find the sweet spot between flexibility for things that you might need all of a sudden versus things where people are able to graze through the open purchase order and just enjoy it.
It's a balancing act.
It is, it is, it is. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that you're going in that direction. Thank you.
Great, anybody else?
You're confident in the forecast, right?
The data, yes, I think I am confident, looking at our sources and doing a lot of corrections, cleaning up. Like I said earlier, we are diving into all open purchase orders. While we have 23, 24 POs still open in 25 with no activities in there. So we are doing a lot of cleanup in there, so I'm confident that a lot of those can close, and that should free up our encumbrance as well. So we are diligently working on cleaning those up. Yes, I'm pretty confident.
Thank you.
He did just get here too, so this is
Yeah.
his first round.
It's okay.
Dr. Al-Sanabi?
If there were funds being encumbered for an open purchase order from not this year,
So
that money doesn't go to us, right? That money goes back to the town.
So, no, we do carry funds still in the APS budget for invoices that might come in after the year closes out. And those are still accessible if they're encumbered appropriately. We work with the comptroller to figure out what that's gonna be versus what the turnback's gonna be.
Okay. So as long as I'm just making sure we're doing everything as it should be above board and, well, great, thank you.
Great, thank you. We're going to go back to the MOA for the traffic supervisors. This is something that we discussed in executive session 2 weeks ago, and I think that we are ready to vote on it. Yes, Mr. Schlickman.
I move approval of the MOA for traffic supervisors and authorize the chair to sign on our behalf.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Yes. Opposed? Abstentions? None. Okay, that is a 5-0 vote.
Can I just,
Dr. Homan, yes,
I just
please.
want to say thank you to our incredible traffic supervisors. We celebrated a couple of them on their retirement and years of service at the staff celebration this week. And we're looking for more. So if you know anybody who would like to stand outside and bring joy at the beginning and end of the school day, please let them know that we would love to have more traffic supervisors. I know that our friends at APD and at the schools would really appreciate it.
Great, thank you. The next item on the agenda is the discussion and vote around a multimedia production teacher job description. My understanding is that this was reviewed at CIA on Monday. Ms. Exton is not here. Ms. Gittleson, were you at that meeting, and can you confirm that it was?
I was not there for that discussion.
Oh, sorry, I was not there, but Mr. Schlickman was there.
Yes,
for
I was
that.
there.
Yes.
We had a
We
discussion.
left at the same time.
Yeah. We had a discussion on this. This is a .2 position. The superintendent is confident that we can fill this position with a qualified applicant. It will certainly enhance our ability to teach a content area within the course of having a Arlington Public Schools certified person in that role. So I would move approval.
Great. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Ms. Keys?
Oh, she's first. She's
I can call on whoever I want to talk. So, Ms. Keys?
I'm like, for a brand new building, the distance between plugs and microphones is just really challenging in this room. I just have a question why this feels like it's a new elective class, and we don't usually write new job descriptions for new elective classes. So why, and we also usually have a hard time filling .2 positions. So I'm just curious why this is being done this way, as opposed to just making a new class, putting it in the course of studies, and then posting for an open position.
Mr. Spiegel?
Teach it.
You want to help me out with that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. We thought it was potentially a position that could grow over time. I think
Okay.
that's a possibility. And I think we were looking to sort of, make
Okay.
this sort of, and it could be part of another department that is already existing, so.
Okay, like when we made oceanography, we didn't write a job description for an oceanography teacher.
So I think.
If I may,
That's why, yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but part of this is also our response to the request for funding, like from ACMi,
Correct. Yes, it
right?
is.
So that this is sort of, as a school department, it's difficult for us to sort of fund not like to slide things, but my sense is that this creates a specific job description and thus FTE allocation, which is tied to some of our money, that is serving this need that we've identified is important for our students, but is sort of a response to the reality right now that ACMi isn't able to provide this,
Staffing,
given
yeah.
their constraints.
Okay.
I think. Is
And
that
the other-
accurate?
If I
Schlickman?
may,
Yeah.
this is a unique set of criteria for teaching. I mean, if we added no oceanography, you'd put in a science teacher. If you added a .2 section someplace of French, it's something we normally do, but this is something different from the job descriptions for most of the other teachers in the district. So we know what a fourth grade teacher does. We don't really know what this person does, and this will define it.
Dr. Allison Ampe?
Thank you. So given the discussion that just happened, that this is in part due to our discussion about ACMi, I was concerned that there is nothing mentioning liaising with ACMi or indicating any sort of relationship with them, and that especially if we think this job might grow, that seems important to me. And so I wondered if that could be added.
We can, and, with this committee's approval, we can make adjustments to the job description and put in an expectation that should there be we're going to have the role, it'll be to some extent up to ACMi, that they are they have capacity to and are interested in doing some of that liaising, sharing of equipment, like using for broadcasting to get content for them, which I know they're always looking for. But we'll figure out some language that includes the expectation, should it be the wish of ACMi to work together on with this role, that we do that. It is in response to and in hopes that we work directly with them to put back some of the programming that we've started to try to build out ourselves, because we weren't able to continue to have staffing from them to do some of these things. And their desire is certainly there for us to keep a lot of that programming going in partnership with them.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Any further discussion? So on a motion by Mr. Schlickman, seconded by Mr. Thielman, I believe. I think it was me. It was Ms. Gittleson. Okie dokie. I can't remember that far. It was like 4 minutes ago. It was a long time ago. All in favor?
Ms. Morgan?
Oh, sorry.
So
Yes.
with the understanding that they're going to broaden the language somewhat to include a reference to ACMi somehow.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay.
All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Abstentions? I didn't vote. I also vote aye. Sometimes I call the vote and then forget to vote, so I'm also yes. It's a 5-0 affirmative vote. Okey doke. This is going great. Okay, the next thing on our agenda, there are a lot of like little ones tonight. The approval of senior award letters. These are awards that are apparently approved by the school committee. They are all GPA based, so they're not discretionary. And I did confirm with Dr. Janger that these are based on GPAs at the end of junior year, because of the way we calculate our GPAs. So I am looking for a motion to approve the E. Nelson Blake Award recipients as well as the Ida Robbins Award recipients.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes, opposed, abstentions? It's a 5-0 vote. We're very proud of our students. and look forward to them receiving these awards at awards night. Okay, we are going to take another look at the 2025-2026 school calendar. My understanding is there is an adjustment in here to the last day of school. We have approved this calendar, we have posted this calendar, and so we're not going to do multiple reads over this, but there was an issue around when the last day of school was.
Correct. It moved
going
back
to be.
one day.
It moved back. So that has been corrected. We need to revote this calendar.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes, opposed, abstentions, 5-0 vote. Now, we are on to the superintendent's update. This is going great.
Okay.
Fantastic.
We're getting there.
That was a surprise.
All right, so I want to start out by sharing that we had our 3rd annual district-wide Pride celebration last Saturday, and say thank you to the task force. I'm actually going to hand this off to Dr. Ford Walker to tell you a little more about it, because she was there and is the liaison to the task force.
Great, thank you, Dr. Holman. Last weekend, we had an amazing 3rd annual APS district-wide Pride celebration. The event, which was hosted by the APS Rainbow Leadership Task Force, in partnership with the Town of Arlington Rainbow Commission, had over 200 attendees. We made a quick pivot from outside to inside, and although it was raining outside, it was bright and sunny and shiny inside in the lobby of the high school. A number of current APS students and families, as well as new students and families, attended. All of our Arlington Elementary School Rainbow Alliances, middle school QSAs, and the AHS GSA all participated and offered activities for guests to participate in, and a space where all could feel a sense of belonging, joy, connection, and pride. I'd like to thank Molly Blau-Gillis, Paloma Cotton-Herman, and bracket 4th grade teacher AC Calcaterra, who do a lot of work behind the scenes with our student groups. Also, they do a lot of work with our APS staff and the Town Rainbow Commission to make events like these, and to make sure the important work of our community conversations and other opportunities for connection happen. Also, I'd like to thank our APS educators, the school committee, Dr. Holman, our school leaders, and school communities. There was a lot of fun last weekend, but also there's a lot of work that takes place throughout the year to make sure that Arlington Public Schools is a safe and welcoming space for all of our students. So thank you.
Thank you.
Can I comment quickly, because I was there?
The chair's gone, so
go
nuts.
You're now the chair.
Wait a minute. Oh, she's back. I just wanted to say that I've been to every one of these events, and I was really sad when I looked at the weather and it wasn't going to be the sort of outdoor thing, but this is a testament to the building committee. It was such a, it didn't feel less than to have it in the lobby. I'd rather have good weather, but also there were many of us that were able to spend more time there as a result of sports activities being canceled than we would have otherwise. So it was nice to have a fun indoor activity, but it was great.
Okay, next up, we want to say congratulations to a few students who were celebrated at the Macy Program Rise Showcase at Middlesex Community College this week. And there's a little description. We have invested some resources in the Macy program over the last couple of years. It's a transition program that gives students exposure to college environments. And it really sort of builds out some of the work we've been trying to do to make sure that we are supporting students with disabilities through the high school and beyond. So, Ms. Elmer, do you want to say a little more about the program and the showcase?
Sure, and actually they've updated it this year to MAPESY, and I forget what the P is for now. But yes, actually, and we've invited the 2 students to come to a future school committee meeting to tell you a little bit more about what they did. one of the students this was his second year, and he was actually able to take courses for credit, which will then be transferring to a four-year university next year. And the other student, it was his first year here, or first year in the program, a longtime Arlington student. And he was, they also had presentations at the showcase, and so several of the students took a public speaking class, and they had created poster boards about that experience as well. And I don't want to give too much away because they're going to come and present to you, but Barron and Paul were recognized today.
So congratulations to them and to the team for the work that they've put into making this program a success over the last couple of years. We had our annual staff appreciation celebration and celebrated 1,188 years of service. That's the collective total for everybody that was honored at the ceremony. We celebrate staff who have achieved 20 years of service, 25 years of service, are retiring, and have achieved professional status at this annual celebration that is uniquely Arlington and one of my favorite events of the year. Ms. Morgan was there to present gifts for staff who had reached these milestones, and it was wonderful to celebrate the work not only of many of our teachers, but also of some of our food service workers and our traffic supervisors and and some of our administrators, and so many staff were there to cheer them on. So it was a wonderful event this week. I have a couple of grant updates. We have received a grant from the Arlington Education Foundation for $32,000, district improvement grant, and that will support some collaborative problem-solving summer professional development for AHS and OMS staff in August. We're excited about this opportunity because it's going to, first of all, we can hold it for a lot of teachers, and OMS and AHS are partnering together to sort of expand some access to this approach. This is not PD we've been able to offer for quite a while, and we have a lot of staff who have come on board who don't know the program and some of its protocols, and so we're looking forward to getting some more people oriented with it, and offering this is not inexpensive PD to run. So the fact that we're able to offer this is very exciting, and we're very grateful to AEF for helping us get this going again. Also, Arlington Education Foundation has granted a $4,000 development expansion grant to the teacher, Kelsey Casada, who is here and presented to you about the APS Student Mentor Program. So this will expand the program to more schools and provide more opportunities for Arlington High School students to mentor some of their younger friends at elementary schools. So we're looking forward to using some of those resources to kickstart some expansion of that program so that we can wrap it into what we do and the learning opportunities we offer to our students. And I'm also pleased to share that we have received a Harvard Presidential Public Service Fellowship Award, which will fund staffing from a couple of our superintendent interns who have been spending time with our offices this year to support data alignment and financial forecasting for APS. We talked about this a little bit with Finance Committee and Town Meeting, doing some projection, building out some projection tools and thinking about how we do more of the data cleanup more systemically so that we have really solid financial data and can do scenario planning. What if this, what if that, and then have some sort of bottom line projections that we can use to think in the future. And hopefully this will be a tool that we can use well into the future when we're facing any level of financial uncertainty or need to do some what if organizing around bargaining or whatever. So we're really pleased that we're going to have this additional capacity over the summer to do some additional work in that area. We will have our math community forum. We had to reschedule this. We wanted to make sure we had plenty of lead time on messaging, and we were concerned that folks weren't aware of it. I know I had said something at this meeting previously, but we became concerned the next day that we didn't have enough messaging out. So we've rescheduled the math community forum and adjusted the format to fully virtual, because that will allow us to record and post to the website for families that aren't able to make it. That was, like I said, postponed from earlier in May. The focus will be similar to some previous meetings with any updates that we can provide at this point. And then we're pivoting to looking forward to building out application for families to join a task force so that we can do planning for pathways next school year, which we'll be sharing out in the next couple of weeks. We have administrative hiring searches going. The Stratton assistant principal has been hired, and we're happy to welcome Adam Goodstone, who will be serving in that capacity. We are also welcoming Phyllis Shea as district's payroll manager in early June, as I mentioned earlier. Our Addison assistant principal search is in its final stages, and we'll have an announcement coming soon. And we have posted for a K-12 director of mathematics, and we'll be getting that search started soon as well. A quick enrollment update, all of the projections and enrollments are in your materials. We have 380 submitted registrations for kindergarten with 331 totally done, approved, and wrapped up. The current kindergarten class average is around 14.4. We're anticipating a lot more coming in and some of those 380 becoming real. And that's got a range of about 12 to 17 students per class. There was a round of buffer zone reconsideration that shuffled some of the sections around. And what is currently in your projection sheet is the actual. What I had in there before was sort of everything we had gotten in. And this time it's precisely what is fully approved. So anything that's pending or families that maybe started to submit a registration and then they don't end up coming to us, those won't be included, and I'll include those actual fully approved ones moving forward because those become the real numbers as we head into the fall. There are 417 new registrations total, pre-K to 12. 366 of those are pre-K to 5. We have 7 new enrollments at grade 6, 5 at grades 7 and 8, and 39 at Arlington High School with an additional 11 pending. So we are looking at having some more high schoolers at the high school.
Are those predominantly in grade 9?
I would have to go look.
Okay. Because there were some weird ones that came in this last year.
Yeah,
They
I'd
were
have to-
coming into their grades, which defies.
Yeah, I'd probably have that broken out by grade, so I can go take a look at that.
It would be nice to know.
And that's all I have for you. Happy to take any questions.
Questions? Comments? Great. All right. Thank you, Dr. Homan. We have the consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the committee so requests, in which event the item will be considered in its normal sequence. Warrant number 25268 dated 5/13/2025 in the amount of $907,705.03. School committee draft meeting minutes from May 1st, 2025. Mr. Steelman.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor? Yes. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, 5-0. Great. Subcommittee liaison reports and announcements. Budget, Dr. Allison Ampe.
Nothing to report.
Community relations, Ms. Gittleson.
We have a joint meeting with facilities on June 9th.
Great. CIA, Ms. Exton isn't here. Facilities, Mr. Thielman, I hear you have a joint meeting on June 9th.
Yes, at 3:30.
Did I steal your thunder there a little bit? It's okay, we're coming back to AHS. Policy, Mr. Schlickman.
No report.
AHS Building Committee, Mr. Thielman.
Moving forward.
Liaison reports. We have the CIA draft minutes. We don't need that. I don't know what that is. Ms. Exton isn't here anyway, so. Do we need those? May 12th, CIA draft minutes? I don't think so. Is it May 12th? Oh yeah, May 12th was a few days ago. All right, I'm going to cross that off. Announcements. Mr. Schlickman, yes.
Last Thursday, we didn't have a meeting, so tra-la, I was able to go to a dinner, which was for Influence 100, our cohort 5, which is developing wonderful leaders for future bigwigs in education, like superintendents and other folks of that nature. And we had 2 people in that cohort who graduated, our very own Wesley Etienne Pierre, and a couple pages down, Fabienne Pierre Maxwell. So we had 2 graduates to celebrate. It's a tribute to Arlington for a relatively small district to have 2 people participating in the program this year. We have participants in cohort 6 for next year, so we are really rocking and rolling in terms of developing our future leaders.
Thank you for that. Future agenda items. Seeing none. Executive session. I want to make sure I do this right because I did it wrong last time, but we're going to do our best and then we can fix it. To conduct strategy session in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. Negotiation, discussions, we're not doing any of these, other than discussion on school safety and discussion on a contract for Allison Elmer.
So moved.
Second, roll call vote. Dr. Allison Ampe?
Yes.
Mr. Thielman?
Yes.
Mr. Schlickman?
Yes.
Ms. Gittleson?
Yes.
And I also vote yes. Great. We are returning from executive session, is our intention. Excellent. Welcome back. This is the continuation of the May 15th, 2025 school committee meeting. It is still May 15th. We are back from executive session, and we are going to take up a vote on an employment contract for Allison Elmer. I will get our motion on the table and then have discussion, and we're going to hear from Dr. Holman as part of that. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the employment contract for Allison Elmer and authorize the chair to sign it.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Thielman, seconded by Dr. Allison Ampe. Discussion from the committee. Seeing none. Dr. Holman.
It is my pleasure to bring to the school committee for your consideration tonight a contract renewing Allison Elmer as the Assistant Superintendent of Student Services. We know that for our educational systems, consistency and stability are a source of strength. Ms. Elmer has served APS for the past 11 years, and during that tenure has led considerable changes in special education and student service programming. She's led the strategic planning efforts of her team with her colleagues, expanding access to professional development in early literacy, mental health support, and has improved inclusive practices and general education programs throughout the district. Under Allison's leadership, the district has cut out-of-district placements nearly in half, has significantly reduced the number of special education placements requiring legal intervention to establish, and has reduced to zero the findings on our most recent state compliance audits. Since becoming assistant superintendent, Ms. Elmer has advocated for expanding staffing to support students' mental and physical health district-wide, as well as more inclusive settings for students with IEPs, and has taken on oversight of 504 planning and implementation over the past couple of years. Before, through, and after the pandemic, Ms. Elmer has been a champion for revisions in early literacy curriculum and played a pivotal role in identifying and implementing opportunities for staff to learn more about the science of reading. More recently, she also helped guide the curriculum reviews and decision-making that led to the adoption and implementation of our new ELA curriculum, and works side by side with the deputy superintendent every day to make sure that what is happening in Tier 1 instruction and what is happening in all of our intervention, and then ultimately, if necessary, any significant intervention spaces or special education is well implemented and done with the needs of the student at the front of her mind. In the 9 years preceding when Allison joined the Arlington team, we had 4 directors of special education. Ms. Elmer began leading in a system without in-district specialized programming, without social workers district-wide, without adequate access to related service providers. Working collaboratively with CPAC and her leadership colleagues, she significantly improved that programming and outcomes for students with IEPs, served in bargaining and on joint labor committees to improve conditions for staff, and advocated for inclusive programming that supports transitions to college and career, like some of the programs we talked about tonight. We know that we still have work to do when it comes to supporting families, staff, and students who benefit from the services under Ms. Elmer's leadership. We also know that leaders who are open to growth and change are well positioned to support those adjustments. Allison is a responsive, reflective, and tenacious leader who cares deeply about the experiences of some of our students and families whose voices are not always heard. And for that reason, I submit her renewal for your consideration and hope you will join me in supporting it.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? All in favor? Yes.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, no abstentions, that's a 5-0 vote. Congratulations, Ms. Elmer. I'm now looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Allison Ampe?
Yes.
Mr. Thielman?
Yes.
Mr. Schlickman?
Yes.
Ms. Gittleson?
Yes.
And I am also yes. Have a good night.
Thank you very much.